Hello and welcome to this little presentation of myself and A Course in Miracles that I have right here. I am a Danish spiritual psychologist and author. I have been passionately interested in spiritual and psychological development since I was about 15, and so about 40 years. And I have done inner work with myself and later on with clients and workshop attendees for 25, 30 years. So spiritual and psychological development is a very deep calling within me. But in this little presentation, I wanted to share with you my relationship with A Course in Miracles and my introduction to A Course in Miracles. There is a little special story that I think a lot of people have with the Course, and this is mine. So I saw the book in a bookshop in London many years ago, maybe 25 years ago, and I had no idea what it was. I'd never heard about it. And yet I felt so attracted to it that I knew I had to buy it, even though it was a little expensive and heavy and all of that. And I would bring it with me on travels around the world for years with the intention that this time I would definitely read it and dig into it. And every time I would open it up and I would get stuck in the words and the masculine wording and the Christian wording and still, which is what is so interesting, I would keep going back to it to try and read it. A lot of other books I would just have given up on, and even remembering where I bought that book so many years ago is a special thing because I've bought a lot of books in my life and I won't remember most of them or where I bought them. So with this one, I tried for many years, but I didn't really succeed. And then maybe the divine got a little impatient with me and I was sent a very clear message to go to a Hay House, You Can Do It conference, I'm sorry, in Florida. I'll just have some tea. I am love. My teacup says I'm love. In Florida, and I was told it will change your life. And so I booked the ticket from Denmark to Florida and went on the conference. It was 4 days, I think. And it was good. And I met some interesting teachers. I did a whole day with Joe Dispenza. And yeah, I thought it was very good. And when I left, I still wasn't sure how is this supposed to change my life. And then a few months later, I somehow saw a workshop in London called Love or Fear. And the only thing I saw really was that it stated that there are only those two emotions. All other emotions are derived from those two basic. And I just knew instantly that it was true. And I remembered the teacher that I'd only seen briefly on the stage in Florida, called Robert Holden. And he had stood out in a way because he was he was funny for once. For one thing, he was British. He was very down to earth. And so I instantly liked him, even though I'd just seen him very briefly on stage. And I knew I had to go to that workshop in London. And I didn't read about it. I just booked the ticket and booked the place at the workshop. And when I came into the space, the workshop space, everyone was sitting with A Course in Miracles in their lap or hands. And I thought, oh, that's what it's about. And that is what the change of my life was about. I knew that instantly. And from then on, I've been a student and a teacher of A Course in Miracles. And I just love it so much. And I want to say a little bit about how it has enhanced my, well, it has enhanced my personal life in ways that are beyond words, and it has also enhanced my professional life. So from when I was a young psychologist working with clients, I realized that underneath every problem that people would bring to me was an issue of self-love, and that if we didn't work on that self-love issue, if we didn't work on their relationship to themselves, they would maybe solve the concrete problem that they came to me with, but next time we would meet, there would be another problem. And so I became very interested in what is this? What does it mean to love yourself, and how do we enhance self-love? And I looked at it from a psychological perspective, like, so what you bring with you into this life, what might you have inherited, what traumas did you experience as a child, what was the level of your parents' self-love, and how did that affect you, and what kind of survival strategies did you put in place of your true self? What kind of masks, what kind of adjustments to your true self did you put in place of the love that you are? And so I worked with a lot of people, one-to-one sessions, and a lot of people in my workshops. And I wrote a book called Love Who You Are. I also wrote a book called Courage to Be You. And so I've been around these themes of self-love for many years. And when I finally really started reading A Course in Miracles, it was like I had been preparing myself, like just bringing the book around me on travels and having it close to me for so many years had opened up something inside of me, so that when I did start reading it, I understood it instantly. Doesn't mean that I didn't have any lessons, and that I still don't have any lessons that my psychology, my ego, will reject or not agree with. But I recognize the truth, like pretty instant. I recognize the truth instantly. And what the course has done in my work as a spiritual psychologist is knowing that the ego will never, the small self or the ego will never be able to give us a sustainable sense of lovability. Only healing the blocks to the love that we are created as and that we are will do that. I also see more and more clearly that what is really healing within each individual, and what's really healing in a session with a client or on my workshops, is that I connect with myself. I connect with my divine self, with my being. And through this connection within myself, I can remind other people of their true self, their divine self. And this is something that can be done without words. We do talk about things, and there are themes and issues and all of that, but the real healing is actually the presence of love and the reminder to other people of their presence of love inside. And I found that on my own journey, that the deeper I delve into, the deeper I am living aligned, or as an extension of the divine love of my soul, the deeper I'm able to remind other people of their divine soul. And that is really the job of I think any therapist. And the giving and receiving part is, and the teacher and the student, is also very obvious, because when I get present with my divine loving being, this is something that I receive myself. I allow this divine energy to expand inside of me. So it's a gift for me to expand the love that can then be a reminder, a gift to someone else. And so that's one of the ways that A Course in Miracles has made a big difference in my life. There are lessons and sentences in the Course that are so enriched and full of love that just reading it will soothe the psychology and the nervous system and remind us of the truth of who we are. Another thing that's been like, there are so many things that I could mention about how A Course in Miracles has enriched my life, and on a personal and professional level, and people around me. But one of the other things I would say is the when I wrote my book, Love Who You Are, and people would ask me, so if I had to do one thing, what is the one thing I can do? And I would say it's work on your thoughts. It's become present and aware to your thinking. And every time you catch yourself in a unloving thought, change it to a loving thought. And as a psychologist, I know that this eternal love within us can and will and must hold space for everything that comes up that is not love. So if I just repress an unloving thought about myself, I might just be repressing it and putting in charge a spiritual super ego structure, a spiritual ego part that thinks it's my spirit, but it's really not. And it's also sending a signal to the system that there isn't room for you. So I think the journey is expanding the light within, the love within, recognizing it in ourselves as much as possible, as often as possible, to deepen and broaden the loving container inside that will then hold space for everything that is not love, all the all the trauma that we bring. So if I have an unloving thought about myself, like, oh, you're so not good enough at that meeting at work, or you didn't seem well enough prepared, or perhaps someone else judged you. This is an attack upon myself, of course, that I am doing. And this might come from a part within me that's 3 years old and thinks it's very important to remind me of the mistakes I make. Because if it doesn't remind me of the mistakes I make, I might be a burden to my mom. And then my mom won't have the energy to take care of me. And without a mom who has the energy to take care of me, I'll be lost and I could die. So the psychology and the body of the human being, it's usually what runs or what's in charge of our bus. But the Course helps us set the soul love in the driver's seat, and the bus becomes so big, there is room for the 3-year-old who's not sure I'm really lovable as I am, and will therefore attack me after a meeting at work. And there is no love that's not big enough or strong enough or unconditional enough to not heal everything. And so the love and the deepening into the love of the self is really what is healing us. I think in some spiritual groups, we misunderstand the meaning of psychology and the human journey. And I really love how the Course invites us into seeing all of life from the minute we wake up till the minute we go to sleep, and even at sleep, is an invitation to become awake and aware and see life as a classroom with specific lessons, and that everything we experience is either love or a call for love. So I have a podcast, a Danish podcast called A Course in Miracles, and I teach A Course in Miracles. I am also still and will be the rest of my life a student of A Course in Miracles. And in my own personal life, I have gone through a very big loss and crisis over the last a little more than a year. And the sentences from A Course in Miracles, there are specific sentences that have helped me whilst I was on my knees, whilst it felt like I died while still being alive. It was such a deep grief and crisis, and it felt like the wisdom and the love in A Course in Miracles helped me through, which is a big thing. I honestly don't know what I would have done without it. I would be reminded to lean into the strength of God, which was, I felt like doing that, my survival depended on it, because I didn't feel the strength within me. So leaning into the strength of God, leaning into the guidance of God, leaning into the wisdom of God, leaning into not knowing anything, not knowing what anything is for, and trusting the big plates moving under me, just trusting the divine orchestration, the bigger plan, the bigger will, in the midst of a complete dissolving of my ego structure, of life as I knew it. It felt like the Course was a holding container for that breakdown, so that I could allow the breakdown to happen properly, like allow myself to dissolve completely. And I had the feeling the whole time that if I stayed on this path of dissolving, just lying in the ashes of my life, the divine force would rise up inside of me and would rise me up, would start guiding me, would show me the way. And I knew I had to wait and let the Christ consciousness be truly born within me, so that this journey that was so enormous, I would at least really honor the divine guidance inside of me. I did not want my ego structure, my survival strategies to take over and live my life. I truly, deeply wanted to let the divine guide me, lead me. And I'm still on that journey. I think I'll probably be on that journey my whole life. And I have gotten to know in a way that I, with my small self, would have never wanted. I would have never thought I would survive it. And I have learned on a very deep soul level what the strength of God is, what God's plan is, well, at least for now, or that I don't know, as the small self, I don't know the plan. I don't know what anything is for, but I do know that God is love, and therefore so am I. And I do know that God's plan can only be wholly lovable. And I have had nothing left but to lean into that. And I've done that. I don't do that all the time. And every day, sometimes I freak out and get really frightened and scared. My whole life has shifted and changed and dissolved in almost all areas of my life. And I have a home to return to, a divine place where I know nothing can really be threatened, nothing real can really be threatened, where I know I cannot be wounded, where I know my heart is whole and cannot be broken, even when it feels very broken on a human level. And so the dissolving, the breaking open of my heart has deepened my understanding, my direct knowing of the truth of A Course in Miracles. And yes, I think I'll stop here. I could talk on and on for hours about the Course and my love for it and how I use it and how I also combine it with psychological pathways that I have learned on my path. But I'll do that in a different little video one of the days. And I think the next little video I'll make will be, I'll find some of my favorite places in the Course that will help enhance the sense of being loved. So I think that's it for now. This was my little presentation of a little bit of about who I am and how the Course entered my life and how it is supporting me and how I am able to support people in my community and network through the support that I get from A Course in Miracles. Thank you.